Think about that exact feeling. You are sitting in an incredibly important meeting, or you are standing in the kitchen right in front of your partner, and you know exactly what needs to be said. The truth is right there on the tip of your tongue, but the tension in the room begins to rise, the air gets heavy, your heart rate elevates, and instead of speaking your truth, you swallow your words. You bite your tongue to keep the peace. You nod, you smile, you agree, and hours later, you are staring at the ceiling in the pitch dark, replaying that exact conversation in your head, torturing yourself. You ask yourself, why didn't I say what I really thought? Why didn't I defend my position? You tell yourself you were just being polite. You tell your fragile ego that you are simply avoiding an unnecessary conflict. You are completely, dangerously wrong. You did not avoid conflict. You simply transferred the conflict from the outside world directly into your own nervous system. And by doing so, you handed over your absolute social power to someone else. You signal to the world that your comfort in the moment is more important than your self-respect. Here is the painful truth that modern society actively refuses to teach you. Most relationships, whether in the ruthless world of business or in the intimate space of romance, do not fall apart because people suddenly fall out of love. They do not fail because of one massive, explosive betrayal. They fail because they fall out of communication. They die a slow, agonizing death by 1,000 unsaid words. But true communication is not what you think it is. Since childhood, you have been brainwashed by a weak culture to believe that communication is about building emotional connection, sharing your fragile feelings, and making sure everyone in the room is perfectly comfortable. It is not. At its primal, biological core, communication is about control. It is about establishing reality. It is about who holds the frame when the environment becomes chaotic. In the next few minutes, we are going to brutally dissect the dark psychology of human interaction. We will expose exactly how narcissists, covert manipulators, and even your closest friends weaponize your fear of conflict to gaslight your reality. You will learn the biological mechanics of the anchor strategy. You will understand the fatal danger of overexplaining. And you will learn how to master the crucial repair moments that dictate whether a relationship survives or rots from the inside out. Pay very close attention, because your entire future is dictated by the exact conversations you are terrified to have. Let us begin by dismantling the first fatal error you are making every single day of your life. You believe that being right is the ultimate goal of a conversation. It is not. Being right is completely and utterly overrated if your delivery destroys your credibility. Imagine you are in an argument. You have all the facts. Logic is entirely on your side. The other person says something completely irrational or unfair. What happens inside your body? Your limbic system, the primal survival center of your ancient brain, detects a threat. Your amygdala fires. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your bloodstream in a fraction of a second. You feel an overwhelming, almost violent urge to speak faster, to raise your voice, to aggressively force the other person to understand your perfect logic. You want to crush their argument with your truth? This is the exact moment you lose. When you react with emotional intensity, you are broadcasting absolute biological weakness. It does not matter if your words are factually correct. Your body language is screaming that you are out of control. You are showing the other person that their cheap words have the power to completely destabilize your internal state. You have handed them the remote control to your emotions. While the 95% of average, easily manipulated people react on pure impulse and let their temporary emotions dictate their permanent words, you must choose a different path. You must join the absolute minority who respond with sovereignty. To achieve this level of dominance, you must master the pause protocol. Silence is the most aggressive, devastating, and underutilized weapon in human communication. When someone insults you, challenges your authority, or tries to drag you into their emotional hurricane, do not match their chaotic energy. Do not immediately fire back. Pause, hold dead, unblinking eye contact. Let the silence stretch for 2, 3, maybe 4 agonizing seconds. That silence is psychological warfare. It forces the other person to sit in the extreme discomfort of their own chaos. They expected a reaction. They wanted a fight. And you gave them a brick wall. It establishes you as the anchor. Think about the physical reality of an anchor. An anchor does not move when the storm hits. It does not negotiate with the waves. It grounds the entire ship When you become the anchor in a conversation, you stop trying to win the petty argument and you start controlling the entire dynamic. You force them to adapt to your absolute stillness. Here is where the dark psychology becomes critical to your everyday survival. We must talk about gaslighting. You must understand the exact, terrifying mechanics of gaslighting. The word has become a trendy internet buzzword used by weak people to describe anyone who disagrees with them. But its true psychological reality is brutal, calculated, and highly destructive. Gaslighting is not simply someone lying to you. A lie is a defensive maneuver designed to deceive you about a specific, isolated fact. A liar wants to hide the truth, but gaslighting is an offensive weapon. It is a calculated, systematic psychological framework designed to make you doubt your own sanity, your own memory, and your own biological instincts. Covert narcissists use this exact technique because they cannot survive in an objective reality where they are held accountable for their toxic actions. They must control the narrative at all costs. They will do something incredibly cruel, and when you finally react to the pain, they will look you dead in the eye and tell you that you are entirely too sensitive. They will completely deny conversations that you know happened. They will aggressively twist your words, manipulate the context, and play the victim so effectively that you will find yourself apologizing for their terrible behavior. They are not trying to win a debate. They are trying to hack your psychological operating system. They want to become the sole author of your reality. Because if they can make you doubt your own memory, they own you. Your biological defense against a skilled gaslighter is not to argue harder. This is where most people fail. If you try to logically explain your perspective to a covert narcissist, you are bleeding energy. You are feeding them exactly the attention and drama they crave. They want you confused. They want you desperate to be understood. Your only defense is to stay violently grounded in your own truth. You do not explain. You do not justify. You state your reality in a flat, cold, entirely unemotional tone. My reality is not up for debate. And then, you apply the pause protocol. You stop talking. You do not offer a single word more. You let those cold statements hang in the air. A gaslighter operates by creating a maze of confusion. When you refuse to enter the maze, their entire strategy collapses. This brings us directly to the biological trap that catches almost everyone. Overexplaining. Count the sentences you use the next time you say no to someone. Pay very close attention to this. Most average people do not stop at the word no. They say no, and then they give a reason. Then they give a backup reason just in case the first one was not convincing enough. Then they apologize for the inconvenience. Then they offer an alternative solution. By the end of the paragraph, the word no is buried under so much insecurity and desperation that it ceases to exist. Overexplaining is a massive biological leak. It is a subconscious bid for social approval. When you overexplain your boundaries, your decisions, or your feelings, you are silently communicating a devastating message to the other person. You are telling them that your reality is not valid unless they agree with it. You are handing them the keys to your self-respect and begging them not to be angry with you. Stop doing this immediately. A masterful communicator understands the raw, unadulterated power of brevity. You can be warm, you can be polite, but you must be incredibly concise. I will not be able to attend. I am not comfortable with this arrangement. That does not work for me. It requires no apology. When you stop over-explaining yourself, a fascinating psychological shift happens. People begin to realize that your boundaries are made of iron, not glass. You train them to respect you by actively demanding less of their validation. While the 99% of people talk themselves into weakness, you will speak yourself into authority. But mastering communication is not just about defending yourself against predators and manipulators. It is also about navigating the inevitable friction with the people you actually care about. And this is where we must discuss the profound biology of the missed repair moment. Listen carefully. In any human interaction, friction is mathematically inevitable. You will misunderstand each other. You will step on each other's toes. You will hurt each other's feelings. But the failure of a relationship is never the friction itself. Friction is just data. The true failure is missing the repair moment. A repair moment is the tiny, incredibly fragile window of opportunity immediately following a conflict where you can either rebuild the bridge or you can watch it burn. Most people let it burn. Why? Because their ego is entirely too fragile to initiate the repair. They want the other person to apologize first. They want to punish their partner with the silent treatment. They want to hold on to their anger because anger feels like power. They choose their foolish pride over the longevity of the connection. Masterful communicators operate on a completely different psychological plane. They understand the unmatched power of validation. You must realize that validation is not agreement. You can absolutely hold your iron boundaries. You can completely disagree with someone's flawed logic while simultaneously validating their emotional experience. I understand why you felt disrespected by my actions, even though that was never my intention. That single sentence is a psychological master key. It instantly diffuses the threat response in their limbic system. It makes the other human being feel seen. And when a human being feels truly seen, they drop their weapons. You can hold your ground without going to war. You can be the anchor in their emotional storm. Most people will never implement this. Their egos are too loud. Their insecurities are too deep. But you are not most people. This is exactly why true authenticity is the highest possible form of communication, and absolute presence is the highest possible form of authenticity. We live in a pathetic era of absolute distraction. When you speak to the average person today, they are not really there. They are half looking at their phone, half thinking about their next response, and completely disconnected from the present moment. They are ghosts haunting their own conversations. If you want to instantly project a dangerous, magnetic, and completely undeniable aura, simply offer someone your undivided, unblinking presence. Reduce all distractions, put the phone face down. Look them directly in the eyes. Listen not just to respond, but to deeply analyze. When you give someone absolute, radical presence, two incredibly powerful things happen. First, you make them feel incredibly important. In a world starved for attention, offering someone your full focus builds rapid, almost unbreakable trust. They will feel drawn to you without understanding why. Second, and more importantly for your survival, you gather massive amounts of raw biological data about their true intentions, their hidden insecurities, and their covert motives. When you are quiet and present, you see everything. You see the micro expressions of contempt. You hear the slight nervous changes in their vocal pitch. You notice when their feet point towards the door. You stop being a frantic participant in the chaos, and you become the absolute observer of the interaction. You see the matrix of human behavior. Communication is not a soft skill. It is not something you learn in a corporate seminar to play nice with your coworkers. It is a ruthless, calculated, biological discipline that directly dictates the trajectory of your entire life. It determines who respects you, who attempts to manipulate you, who submits to you, and what you extract from this world. Every single time you open your mouth, or strategically choose to keep it closed, you are either claiming power, or you are giving it away. There is no neutral ground. While others react blindly to conflict, destroying their reputations and their peace of mind, you respond with cold, calculated clarity. While others desperately chase being right to soothe their fragile egos, you choose being understood and maintaining control. That is not just communication. That is sovereignty. And sovereignty is the quiet, unbreakable superpower that separates the emotionally reactive from the fundamentally unshakable. If you choose clarity over comfort, if you absolutely refuse to let your reality be distorted by the toxic noise around you, and if you are ready to claim the absolute social power you deserve. Subscribe to this channel right now, drop a comment below, and tell me exactly whose psychological control you are breaking today. Reclaim your voice, reclaim your reality. See you in the next protocol.